Now, an appeals court judge, Justice Clemens Honyaga, has called on stakeholders to do more in pushing for non-custodial sentences. Justice Honyaga believes non-custodial sentences will help decongest Ghana's prisons. The appeals court judge was addressing the media after 8 inmates of the Akuse local prison Friday afternoon gained their freedom under the Justice for All program. Joy News' Maxwell Baba has more in the following report.
It is about 12 p.m. at the Akuse local prison. 23-year-old Daniel Boateng has just stepped out of the prison after spending more than a year behind bars without trial. On a day like this, one would expect him to be in a jubilant mood. But no, he's still in a state of shock, especially about his freedom. Daniel Boateng recalls the moment he was accused of rape by an unknown female.
They accused me of a rape case, which I did not know nothing about it.
So tell me, what exactly happened that day?
That day, it seems we have a joint that everybody used to play over there. So that very day, I went there to give money to a certain friend. I went there, I didn't meet him. So I was waiting for him over there. So as I was waiting for him, I was there and police people came and arrested me. So they said they have raped some girl over there. So they said the boys were 6 boys. So as soon as they came and met me over there, they need to arrest me. I talked and they agreed. They took me to police station break. So they brought the girl so that she should come and identify that I was among or not. She came. She also said the boys kept him under the street bulb and they took him into a certain room. And the room was so dark, so he couldn't know the boys.
Daniel Boateng is not the only inmate walking out as a free man under the Justice for All program. Another inmate, 23-year-old Theophilus Kwao, was remanded for 15 months without trial. Theophilus was accused of stealing an LCD television set in July 2015. The TV set was given to the owner, but Theophilus was detained by the police.
The place is reformation. You can learn a lot of things here. Yeah, you can learn good and bad. There's 2 things involved there. If going out, you can learn bad. Going out, so you can learn good. But me coming out, I learn a good. And I like the way how God illuminates my path in life. So that's how I've seen.
This is my first time visiting a prison, and specifically I'm here at the Akuse local prison. I tell you what, this prison was actually put up decades ago purposely to admit 90 inmates, but now because of the numerous cases confronted the Ghana Prison Service, it is forced to actually admit over 200 inmates. And this is where Theophilus was living together with other convicts.
The Justice for All program was established in 2007 to decongest Ghana's prisons through a special court system set up in the prisons to adjudicate cases periodically of especially remand prisoners. One of the presiding judges, Justice Clemens Honyaga, says stakeholders should do more in pushing for non-custodial sentences.
To bring down or to decongest the cost further, there is the need for a non-custodial sentence policy to be in place. One was organized in 2014, but nothing has come out of it. If we have policies like community service and those sort of things, I mean, the numbers would not have been up to this that we have today. So we are calling upon the authorities, especially the Attorney General and Minister of Justice and the Minister of Interior, to take up this matter very seriously and get a non-custodial policy in place.
41 inmates applied to be heard. 8 of them were discharged unconditionally. 14 were granted bail, 16 were refused bail, and 3 cases struck out because they were already pending before the courts. For Joy News, Maxwell Ababa.
Now, the government task force reclaiming illegal mining pit at Pristine Suta in the western region say they've collapsed 50 pits. Officials say 22 illegal miners were killed after a mining pit collapsed on them last Sunday following a downpour. Lands and Natural Resources Minister John Peter Amewu on Thursday directed that rescue operations be suspended following heavy rains at the site. Earlier Friday afternoon, supervisor for the exercise, Omani Frimpong, said they had covered some, abandoned pits.
We came here around 7 o'clock and started around 7:40, and it's now almost 2 o'clock. So actually we are going to finish somewhere around 3:30. Yeah, it's not a small task. Looking at the nature of the condition of the earth and how the number of these holes that have been covered, it's not a small thing. Precisely, we've covered about 50 of them. 50, yeah. And the 50 are those the active ones, but we've covered about 25 which are not in use.
Now, Kojo Fletcher is with Best FM in Tarkwa. He's a man on the ground. He joins us on the line now. Kojo, hello, good evening to you. Has the task force been able to cover all the pits in the area? Hello, Kojo, if you can hear me, I'm asking if the task force has been able to cover all the pits in the area as they indicated.
However, as at 12 noon that I got to the area, once vibrant area was down, people that you could see at the area was the security men who were on guard to avoid any intruder. The only sound we could hear on the ground was excavators and bulldozers reclaiming the land. Leaving at around 3:20 p.m., about 250 by 30 meter square area, which had 50 active pits, have been destroyed, filled, and sealed, Araba.
And what's the mood in the area? I mean, now that the source of their livelihood is gone now, what is the mood in the area among the residents?
However, no one was at the scene today because of the heavy security present. And the area where illegal miners were is about the outskirts of the main Mbiase in Suta town. So today you could not see anybody around because the announcement has gone that today the place will be destroyed. I mean, the pit will be destroyed and sealed.
All right, many thanks. That is Fletcher, Kojo Fletcher. He's with the Best FM in Tarkwa, bringing us that update. Also joining us on the line is Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Benito Owusu-Bio. Many thanks for your time, sir. If you can hear me, first of all, clarify for us, do we have an official figure of how many people were buried when the pit collapsed?
I would say initially there were 22, and we were able to retrieve one body. So the number of bodies left underneath the pit, I can say is 21 as of now.
So there were, just to clarify, 22 bodies were in the pit, one was retrieved?
Yes.
Okay. So
you know, initially the figure was 17. But yesterday, when we brought the exercise to an end, we held a meeting with the Galamseyers themselves and then the townspeople, and they were able to come up with that 22 names. When we finished, we mentioned the name to the whole community, and they all attested to the fact that these are people they need. And that since that day, they were all on the site, and since that day, they've not seen them again. So once they said they were in the pit with them, we had to believe that all of them are presumed dead.
Now, this exercise that took place today, I mean, the exercise of reclaiming the land and covering the pits, how convinced are you that or what's the guarantee that these miners will not return to the sites once the excavators leave and the task force also leaves?
Okay. We knew that if we don't seal the pit, it will be easier for them to come back again. So what we did was that the instruction was for them to ensure that at least a certain radius, 100 meters radius, must all be bulldozed down and then sealed. So that even if there were other pits around, they will not have the opportunity to enter those ones, burrow into them, and then burrow into where the accident happened. So we learned from them because they drew the pit design for us, and which gave us an idea of how the pits look like. So based on that, we did the work.
And what happens next from here? I mean, earlier in the day, we had the chief of the area speaking about the fact that that was their source of livelihood. And so what happens next from here?
The next thing we are going to do is that on the 19th, we'll be holding a stakeholders meeting at Takwa at the University of Mines. And we are inviting all of them, even including the Galamseyers, to attend, because that will be the first stakeholders meeting on our project report, the multilateral mining integrated project. The document is ready, and we will all be perusing it with them. From there, we would move to Bolgatanga, where we'll hold a similar one, and then to Kumasi, and then also to Koforidua, or we had considered maybe Akwatia, and then from there we'll come to Accra to launch the project itself.
All right. Many thanks for your time. That is Deputy Lands and Natural Resources Minister Benito Owusu-Bio there. And the news is that they have covered 50 pits in total in the Nsuta Prisia area in the western region. 22 people have been deemed dead. One body was retrieved. You're still listening to Joy News Prime, and still ahead, Majority Leader in Parliament pushes for work of parliamentary committees to be restricted to the premises of the House so that they do not have to rely on support of agencies whose bills they are working on.
We should begin to investigate the possibility of restricting all committee meetings to the premises and indeed the presence of Parliament.
Details of that plus business coming right up. You're welcome back. Now, Majority Leader Oseche Mensah Bonsu is pushing for the work of parliamentary committees to be restricted to the premises of the House so that they do not have to rely on the support of agencies whose bills they are working on. Recently, there's been controversy over the handing out of 100,000 cedis to members of Parliament's Finance Committee by the National Lotteries Authority to push through a bill. MPs are concerned there's huge public backlash against them over the issue and are asking the Speaker, Professor Mike Oquaye, to defend them. Listen to North Tongu MP Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa and Ifutu MP Alexander Afenyo-Markins on the floor of the House.
We are all aware that members of the judiciary, in particular judges, receive training from other institutions, civil society. We've never heard that because the U.S. government is supporting judges for training programs and all that, or that judges attended a workshop and they were facilitated through accommodation and say per diem allowances, justice is being compromised. We never hear that. It has never been the argument. But today, Mr. Speaker, you being the primus inter pares, we are inviting Mr. Speaker to take this matter very seriously and protect us. Because the impression is being created as though members of Parliament have been compromised and that we are departing from our court duty. That is not the case. Mr. Speaker, if GTZ invite us for a workshop and they facilitate the workshop. Mr. Speaker, it cannot be that the fact that the workshop was facilitated by them, members have been compromised in one way or the other. And again, if an institution of state is sponsoring a bill and decides to take members outside this house for further stakeholder briefing to enable us understand, and they want to do so at their instance, same cannot amount to this house being compromised. We are of the view, I am of the view, I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, I am of the view that if this house takes this matter up seriously to explain to the public the nature of our work and the dynamics, the public would understand and may not thereby be misled into thinking that something untoward is being done. I invite this house to join this view so that the right things are done.
And he did raise this issue and said that there was a need for the House to take action, because if MDAs facilitate the work of committees, then it will appear that they are calling the tune, and he who pays the piper calls the tune. Right, Honourable Speaker, to the extent that these discussions continue, many civil society organizations have waded in. I want to appeal most humbly, if you can give some guidance as to what can be done on the way forward so that we can regulate this. Is it legal or not? Is it acceptable? And if it is, what should be the guidelines? So that, because now members of parliament are walking around and there's a lot of suspicion, and it's as though some have even said that lawmaking is for sale and all of that, and that if you don't pay committees, your bill or whatever business you have before the House will not be attended to. And I believe that to the extent that this debate rages on, and many people are commenting and making some remarks that sometimes border on the disparaging, we may want to take a critical look at it and see if we can develop some mechanisms moving forward that will, as it were, protect the image and sanctity of Parliament. Finally, Right Honourable Speaker.
Now, majority and minority leaders Haruna Iddrisu and Osechi Mensah Bonsu assured leadership will address the concerns. The majority leader, however, has a drastic suggestion on how to deal with the issue.
I think this House should come to a determination on the way forward for us. Initially, the excuse was that we're not having enough committee rooms. So the bodies that we are to oversee would invite us to their premises. But given what is happening these days, perhaps the time has come for us as a House to take the decision that we will resort to the vehicle of the committee rooms that exist here in Parliament and not allow ourselves to be lured outside, where these matters would every now and then crop up. I agree with my colleague when he says that elsewhere in the established democracies, individual members and the committees as a whole may be lobbied by corporate bodies to delve into the issues and speak on their behalf. It is not considered as any attempt to bribe the individuals or
facilitating the work of Parliament and corrupting Parliament and members of Parliament in the eye. I know that this morning, Mr. Speaker, you requested that leadership engage it. So is to, I know the majority leader will respond to it, is to assure members that we will take a definite position on this matter in a manner which protects what we do as members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, we know your position on this matter is that Parliament be adequately resourced to be on its own and not to be dependent and be supported or facilitated by any agency in its work, which is now the subject which is impugning the integrity of members of Parliament. So we will engage on that matter.
Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, had the following assurance for MPs.
I trust that in a week we should have some directive, some common position upon which we shall act further on the matter. No one is sleeping over it at all. But all parameters of the issue must be seriously examined. We recollect the Honorable Minister for Tourism made a statement in the House. At the same time, there was a question relating to that same matter. And the follow-up is something which honorable members may in future check from the table office. And that's one reason why we will need our own committee on parliamentary assurances so that we can do appropriate follow-ups. I believe this will also be taken up when we come to revise the standing orders. Our appeal to all honorable members involved in the process to let us really hold the bull by the horn and complete that matter, since it goes a long way to affect rather adversely the work of the House. On that, the business statement as presented is accordingly admitted.
Now, next year, 2018, is projected to be a very difficult one for Ghanaian cocoa farmers as the world commodity price continues to drop. That's the anticipation by Chief Executive of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Joseph Boahen Edu. He expressed the sentiments in an interaction with media personnel following a meeting with farmers in Kumasi. Here's a report by Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin.
World price for cocoa continued to take a nosedive, hitting a 4-year low largely due to excess supply among other factors. Benchmark cocoa futures on the Intercontinental Exchange in New York hit $2,052 per metric ton last February, the lowest since March 2013. A bumper crop last season from good weather in West Africa is weighing down heavily on prices. Ivory Coast and Ghana are the world's top producers, accounting for over 2/3 of global supply. The meeting with farmers from across the cocoa regions was to engage them on prices so that it will not come as a surprise when government decides to stabilize or renegotiate the price of the commodity.
And the price that we all know has been 7,600 Ghana cedis per ton. Now, this was pitched on the basis that the international price was averaged at $2,900. At that time, the price volatility was between $2,200 and then $2,700. So it was averaged at $2,900. As we speak today, the price volatility is running between $2,100 and then $1,800. So we have averaged it at $1,900 per ton. Now you realize that already about $1,000, has been lost from the international market.
Currently, a ton of cocoa is sold at 7,600 Ghana cedis, pegged on the basis of the international price average at $2,900. The commodity price is now running between $1,800 and $2,100. It is imperative to note Cocoa Board is doing forward sale, which means it has already sold out the country's stock.
We are doing forward sales. Therefore, even as the cocoa trees are flowering now, we've already sold our cocoa. And then again, we are currently selling the black crop beans that are for next year, 2018. And we are selling the black crop beans at this low price of $1,900, which will further be discounted at 20%.
Mr. Boahen Edu says there are difficult times ahead.
means that next year we are going to enter a very difficult year for the cocoa industry and also for the Ghanaian economy. We will have to sell our cocoa at a lower price, but then we have to decide whether to reduce the producer price or let it stay there or increase the price. As we speak now, the producer price in Cote d'Ivoire and the neighboring countries has been reduced, but we cannot do that. We are still, selling at 7,600 Ghana cedis.
Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin reporting.
You're still watching Joy News Prime. I'm Araba Kumson. Still ahead, we have business and all the details surrounding the controversy over the Deputy Majority Leader Sarah Adjah-Sarfor's comments. Coming up. You're welcome back. Time for business, and Emmanuel Abuajiri joins us in the studio now. Emmanuel, hi.
Hi, Araba. How are you doing?
It's a Friday. I'm sure you can't wait for the weekend.
I can't wait. But tomorrow we have a program at the Oval Stadium at the Legon.
Okay, I see. Great. But earlier this week, the president turned on the valves at the FPSO John Agyekum Kufuor. But there's good news coming out from there.
There is good news. The indications are that the country could be producing over 200,000 barrels of oil a day with these 3 oil fields in place.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and thanks for joining me on Business tonight. Total daily crude oil production from Ghana's oil fields could reach more than 200,000 barrels by December this year. This is because lead operator of the Sankofa Gyinyame project, ENI, is now looking at increasing daily production from the field to 55,000 barrels by December. Now, George Biafe was on the John Agyekum Kufuor FPSO for first oil commissioning and has come through with this report.
It will take you about 30 minutes to fly from the Air Force Base in Takoradi in the western region onto the John Agyekum Kufuor FPSO. The vessel can be described as having the size of 5 football pitches put together and has a storage capacity of 1.7 million barrels. It can process about 80,000 barrels of crude a day and has a facility on board to extract and process crude oil as well as gas from the seabed. Managers are currently working with 2 oil wells and are planning to increase that to 8, which will help increase the daily production to about 55,000 barrels a day. My experience on the vessel showed a state-of-the-art infrastructure that will ensure that the operators get more oil and gas from the field. Group Chief Executive of ENI, Claudio Descasi, says they've learned lessons from challenges experienced by lead operators on the Jubilee and 10 fields to ensure that they don't experience the same fate.
We put in place a really huge project. Until now, we had 18 million man-hours for the development construction, plus 8 million man-hours for the management. So the project accounts for more than 26 million hours. And when you look at the LTI, that is the HSE parameter, is very important parameter because it's the incident rate. The incident rate per million of hours worked for Sankofa is 0. So you can imagine a project that has a record man hour, 26 million hours without one incident. The LTI is 0, and that is one answer. When there is efficiency in HSE, means that there is efficiency in the operations, and that is a must. And also how the project has been conceived and practically 0 flaring is also you look at the HSE, but also environment. So there is no environmental impact. So there is no gas that is burned. So I think that is a good beginning.
For some of the workers on the field, a lot has been done to let more Ghanaians manage the facility in the near future. Adam is one of the production unit managers on the Sankofa Gyinyame oil and gas field.
It's been an amazing experience so far. You know, our company took us to Singapore, gave us a very good training. We had a lot of on-hand experience with all the vessels and stuff like that. It's been an amazing program so far. We've been learning so much, and we believe that in the next 20 years, the next 5 to 6 years, we should be capable enough to handle most of the equipment on the FPSO.
In terms of technology transfer and know-how, how has it been like? Has there been an opportunity for you to learn more and do more things as a Ghanaian?
Sincerely, there's been a lot of opportunities. Our supervisors are always on us, making sure we are learning the part that we have to play. So many training programs here and there. The understanding is really good, sincerely. The practical aspect, we are really having a practical feel of what is going to be when transfer is done to us. It's really been a very good.
What is your expectation going forward 5 years from now?
My expectation is that in the next 5 years, I should be able to handle most, if not all, most of the equipment that we use to process our oil and gas.
President Akufo-Addo, who turned the taps on the John Kufuor FPSO around 11:38 a.m. later, told Joy Business and some workers in the field that government is committed to the prudent use of the oil resources and the money that will come out of the exports by the country and the oil firms.
It means a lot of things if we use them. Yes, it means everything. It means a lot, especially if we look after the money well and use it judiciously and invest it properly. We are protecting not only our today, but our future as well of the people of this country. So it means a lot. It's a very important development in the political and economic and social history of our country. And it's a good day. Today generally is an excellent day for Ghanaians.
Energy plans.
Especially for that. The energy plans are part of the plans of Ghana. Yeah, so it's excellent.
Ghana could soon be producing more than 200,000 barrels of crude oil a day very soon. But for the Deputy Minister of Energy, Mohamed Amin Adam, this shows that Ghana can now be described as a major oil and gas producing country.
Of course, we have an oil industry because when you have 3 fields producing, by 3 different operators, for instance, then you have an industry. But even if you limit it to the fields, you are short-sighted because we have other oil services companies that are providing services, and there are many of them. Together with the producing force, we have an industry.
The Sankofa field has almost 800 million barrels of crude oil deposits and has Italian oil giant Eni as the lead operator with 44.44%, followed by Vitol with 43% and the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation with 22%. The Sankofa Gyinyame oil field is a few meters away from the Jubilee and 10 fields.
Meanwhile, the Chief Executive of the Petroleum Commission, Theophilus Ahwireng, says the necessary measures have been instituted to ensure Ghanaians benefit from the growing oil industry.
Well, I think we must pat ourselves in the back. There's no doubt about it. It's about 10 years since we made the commercial discovery of Jubilee. And since then, we've been developing this industry on all fronts, in terms of legislation, in terms of capacity building of the people. And today, what we are recognizing is yet another development project moving on into production. And the good thing about this project is that in this project and with the 2 others, all gas resources would actually be interconnected and produced. This doesn't happen that very often in sub-Saharan Africa, and I guess it is good news for the industry.
The concern is about as we expand, are we also expanding that local content to ensure that indigents are getting the expertise to manage the facility?
It is worth mentioning that on this project, about $1.8 billion of the $6.2 billion expended went into indigenous companies. Remember, this is an amount bigger than the capitalization of all the banks in Ghana put together. It is a major achievement.
So you believe that a lot has been done to ensure that Ghanaians will take over?
This did not just happen. It's come through a lot of effort of building capacity. I mean, you've been part of some of the capacity building programs you have done, and the essence of it is to build the Ghanaian expertise in the way that they will be able to compete not only among themselves, but with any other international competitor on the market. I think they're getting there. Today, there are a number of the scopes that are conducted just by indigenous companies alone.
So there are currently 102 Ghanaian nationals representing 56% of the total labor force which are involved in the operations and maintenance of the FPSO John Agyekum Kufuor. Moving on, the Bank of Ghana is currently working on a new regulation that seeks to harmonize payment and settlement systems between banks and telecom companies. The governor, Dr. Ernest Addison, who revealed this, said it is aimed at making mobile cash transactions more secured and efficient to the benefit of consumers and the whole economy. He was speaking at the MTN Group's maiden strategic planning encounter with stakeholders in Accra.
The strategic group planning meeting was held in Accra for the first time. It brought together customers, partners and other major stakeholders of the company to meet the entire membership of the MTN Group board. Leading telecoms giant MTN has been operating in the country over the past 20 years and connected families, improved business productivity and efficiency, and contributed significantly to government revenue. The company has so far invested over $2.5 billion, One Network and ICT infrastructure, a major vehicle for Ghana's economic growth. Chief Executive Officer of MTN Ghana, Ebenezer Chumasante, in his remark expressed the hope that MTN will do more with technology to accelerate the digital progress of the country. On his part, visiting executive chairman of the MTN Group praised MTN team in Ghana for their exceptional role among the group. He expressed confidence in government to provide the right environment for the smooth running of businesses and their sustainability.
It all comes back to an issue of playing a Pan-African role in a continent that I think is in a position to actually have a paradigm shift in the next 30 years. And at the center of all of that is connectivity. And we certainly believe that in the few years that we've had in Ghana, we've been able to make a contribution. And this evening is merely just to say thank you.
Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Kwamina Addison, outlined some measures to harmonize payment and settlement systems between banks and telecom companies.
And that's all in business for tonight. Many thanks for watching. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. For more business news, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Have a great weekend.
You're welcome back. Now, what started as mild vibrations between concrete slabs on a portion of the Kwame Nkrumah Circle interchange Friday deteriorated into a major road breach, calling into question again the quality of construction carried out on the interchange, which is under a year old. The portion which caved in created a gaping hole in the center of the stretch, causing massive gridlock for hours. It took the help of some bystanders to manage the traffic congestion on the road. Joy News is learning Brazilian contractors Queiroz Galvão have been to the scene to assess the situation. Komladum has more in the following report.
In the middle of this stretch of road leading from Abeka here to Circle, which forms part of the Nkrumah Circle interchange, which was newly constructed in 2016 by contractors Queiroz Galvão, lies a gaping hole which has just been created in the middle of the stretch. We are told by witnesses that this particular hole was created earlier today following some heavy vibrations that was heard around the slab area of this particular stretch of road. They've been telling us that, for example, on Wednesday, they had heavy vibrations around the area until this morning when the caving in eventually occurred. They've been also telling us that heavy vehicles who've been passing or plying this particular stretch had a difficult time earlier today maneuvering through this stretch from that end to Circle.
Yeah, we were here since morning, but there was signs of cracks over it since morning. And then all of a sudden around 12, yeah, it caved in. And then we saw water coming out of the pit that you can see right now.
We are also being told that, for example, the vibrations around this slab area has been ongoing for almost 3 days or 4 days.
Yeah, that's true, yeah, because on Wednesday, it started on Wednesday. As you can see, there are indications of erosions on the road, And on Wednesday around midday, we saw water coming out straight from the road, And then the tap at the back there, was closed. So after which, the Ghana Water Company guys came, and then they came to verify, and then they didn't do anything to it. They went away, And then today, these the consequences we can see.
Okay, what have contractors been saying? I understand they've been here to assess the situation. They were here a bit earlier. What have they been doing, and what have they been telling you?
They didn't say anything to us, though. They just came, took pictures, and then came to call off the place. That's all.
But since the incident happened, tell us about the traffic situation around this stretch. Have security officials been here ensuring that the traffic buildup is reduced?
Nah, no security personnel has been here so far. And also, the traffic has been hectic, though, from midday to now.
This accident, because of the gutter, is too small. No water passed through inside. All the water passed through the erosion. So every day, water, if rain fall, is just passing here. So we don't know. From on Wednesday, we see that this thing happened. It start coming small.
So some people have said that it is because of the poor nature of the construction works that have been done on this particular stretch.
Yeah, it's true, because if you see this gutter self cry, it's too small. It can't contain any erosion. Especially if rain is falling here, it's a big trouble. All the rain is passing through the road. It's not passing the water. Is that why it's happening like that?
So we've heard from some of the people who live and work around this particular area, which has witnessed the caving in of a portion of the stretch, which is around the Nkrumah interchange. What remains to be seen, though, is whether contractors, Keros Galvao, will speed up efforts to ensure that this particular incident is addressed before a major catastrophe occurs here sooner than later. Komla Adum for Joy News.
Now, farmers at Dobo, a farming community in the Banda district of the Bono Ahafo region, are seeking to adopt environmentally friendly and sustainable economic activities to safeguard their vegetation. Although through the education of NGO Save Our Environment Foundation, the farmers have become aware that their livelihood activities are destroying the vegetation. Correspondent Nesta Kafui Ajoma witnessed one such meeting between the NGO and farmers at Dobo, from where he filed the following report.
Rainfall pattern in and around Dobo community in the Banda district has changed drastically for the past 10 years, posing serious threat to food security. Economic activities such as felling of trees for charcoal production and timber, as well as using harmful agrochemicals for crop cultivation, among others, have adversely affected the environment in this community. Construction of the Bui Dam to a large extent also claimed majority of arable land in and around Dobo, thereby rendering most farmers jobless. Environmental NGO Save Our Environment Foundation is introducing the farmers in the community to various economic activities. The farmers have further been talked into saving the little income they get through a community village savings and managed by themselves. With the guidance of SEV, 5 farmers groups met at Dobo to share savings they have made for the past 6 months. Assemblyman for Dobo, Joseph Yeboah, is a leader of the groups.
In fact, biggest appeal or advice to those who have not joined the wagon is that in fact, it's a good start. It's a good project. So all should have hands on deck. And then to those who are also treating the environment very bad too, I'll also advise that they make sure any, in fact, thing that they destroy, that is any tree or any natural creature that they destroy, they should make sure they replace it. Simply because the establishment of the BUID project has brought a change, dramatic change of rainfall pattern in the area due to the tree that they have in fact felled. And therefore, my appeal to them is to make sure they will treat the environment very good, to continue to have good rains, so that farmers will also continue to do well for us.
Chief Executive Officer of the NGO, Collins Osei, said his outfit encouraged the farmers to form small groups to do the Susu saving in line with the 5-month project being implemented in Dobo. The project, he noted, is being funded by UNDP, Global Environment Facility, and small grants programs.
It's a model that we have introduced. We call it community village savings that we use to support the community farmers. This community, they don't have any bank to support them. So through this process, they will then save small. So in a particular time, they come together and then they share the amount that they will get. And then through their savings, they can use it to supplement their farming activities.
Banda District Director of Ministry of Food and Agriculture, William Bia, urged farmers in the district to patronize the services of agriculture and extension officers whilst they adopt the use of organic fertilizers for enhanced yield. Nesta Kafri Juma's report for Joy News.
This is Joy News Prime.
Now, MP for Domin Kwamenya, Sarah Adwoa-Safo, has been subjected to relentless trolling on social media for claiming a school built in her constituency was through her personal efforts. The Deputy Majority Leader, in a video that went viral on social media, claimed that she lobbied the World Bank to fund the construction of a community day senior high school sited in her constituency. The school block in question is one of the Community Day School's former president, John Dramani Mahama, as government promised and built. So, for those who have not seen the video, take a look.
Opposition as my member of parliament. A woman said that a more danger, and so yet me ye near my bakum ye nubia, me pesa me bossum. Ye decline a year facility at TMCCI, a year secondary school, a ne, Domequa Benya, Yansu Yebi. Upa consuency can see any more. Na secondary school bia enimu. And now me do my day. Me committee so parliament. About World Bank for man on Washington DC. I mean no my year do my pain. Na omudi sika bi o mayimu ha. Omudi besi secondary schools e de ama aban. Me ni omudi nkita ho no omo kan ye ne se menya asase semu ni ho e de ama omo a e wo mu se me ni aban mu de e so omo be ma ye baako. NDC for secondary schools are almost see yenina almost see almost stronghold. Ye pen ye MPP stronghold in your secondary school. And it will say in fear buying more.
Well, as you heard her, the MP in the video claimed that she personally lobbied the World Bank to fund the construction of the school and that she provided land for the project. Well, Joy News' Manasseh Azura-Wene has been verifying this claim.
I came to the World Bank office here in Accra to ascertain the credibility or otherwise of Sarah Adwoa-Safo's claim that she used her connections to lobby for the E-block to be built in her constituency. The information I have is that the government of Ghana wanted the World Bank to fund 200 of those schools, but the World Bank said there were other schools that needed rehabilitation, so it wasn't necessary to have built 200 schools. And so the World Bank gave priority to areas that did not have schools, and the World Bank supported 23 of these schools. The information I'm giving is that these schools are a bit different from the ones that were built from the government of Ghana budget. The difference is that those sponsored by the World Bank had teachers' bungalows and a few other facilities. As to whether the MP lobbied with the World Bank or not, the information I'm giving is that the World Bank deals with governments and not individuals. And that when it is even dealing with the government, what it requires is justification and evidence that the money will be put to good use. And once that is provided, the World Bank does not micromanage the projects or its locations. So it cannot be true that the MP actually used her influence or connections with the World Bank to lobby for that school to be sited in her constituency.
Well, still on this particular matter, the functionaries of the opposition NDC have been reacting to the Deputy Majority Leader's claims. Former Deputy Education Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa has dismissed the claim, saying it is untrue. And earlier today, functionaries of the NDC in the Dome Kwabenya constituency also addressed a news conference describing the Deputy Majority Leader as a liar. Well, we want to see the end of this now. But moving on, majoring minors or minoring majors, or is it a case of propaganda gone bad? The story of the tussle between the opposition NDC and the Dome Kwabenya constituency MP Sarah Adwoa-Sarfo over whose efforts ensured that a community day high school was constructed in the area. Joy News' Joseph Akable in the following report spends time in the constituency recounting what led to the feud and how residents are more concerned about the poor state of their roads.
Don't get it wrong, this is a pothole on a major road here in the Dome Kwabenya constituency. Now this road leads to Brekusu, where you have Ashesi University. It also leads to Ashongma. Now this is a constituency that has been in the news lately. Not for the reasons that anyone would expect a constituency to be in the news, but simply because the current MP has been on a warpath with members of the opposition NDC. It all started with this video that has been making rounds on social media where Sarah Adwoa-Sarfo made claims about a crucial role in ensuring that this constituency got one of the community day senior high schools.
As a member of parliament,
I'll proceed to mention certain things we were able to do even though we were in opposition. The first is where we are now. The secondary school we have, we didn't have one in this constituency. Due to my hard work at the constituency level in parliament, we got it. The World Bank, which I've worked with, informed me that if I make available land, they'll construct one for us. They build the schools in their strongholds. We are the only MPP stronghold that have got one.
NDC for secondary schools are almost stronghold. Yeah, penny MPP stronghold in secondary school, and it will say in fear buying more.
This did not sit well with the opposition NDC, as its constituency branch here in the area held a press conference on Friday morning. As far as vice chairman of the party in the constituency is concerned, Isaac Lamte wants the MP to apologize for making those claims that he calls false. He insists government led the engagement with the World Bank to ensure that the constituency benefited from the project.
She didn't vote for the passing of that loan. She didn't even, when we want to commission it, the Excellency wanted to commission it. We invited Adwoa-Sarfo. Adwoa-Sarfo refused to come there. If you have given a land for a school to be built, and the school has been built, and they are commissioning the school, and you cannot come there, and today you are coming to tell your people or telling Ghanaians that you went and lobbied, she's a liar.
But the residents in the constituency seem to have a different view. They are much more concerned about the slow pace of movement here in the constituency, about how bad the roads are. That is what they want the focus to be, for which reason I'm engaging some of them to pick their thoughts on what they make of this entire development. Roads, schools, or let's talk about who ensured the community day senior high school came here in the first place.
The roads too bad, so they need to work on it. Even they spoke to the MP for Kwabenya and Dome, but as at now, we can't even see what is going on. So we need to they need to work on it so that all the vehicles also have a good condition on the road.
Now, most pupils in public basic schools would recite the Lord's Prayer before classes begin. But can you imagine a school where children have to say prayers that there should not be a drop of rain while school is in session? Well, the pupils of Krache in Chumuru district of the Volta region face this reality of running home from school anytime it rains. That's because classes are held under trees or thatch roof structures built with mud. My colleague Jojo Kobina traveled to the area and now reports.
Assemble, please. I promise to hold in high esteem our heritage won for us through the blood and toil our fathers, and I pledge myself with all things to uphold and defend the good name of Ghana, so help me God.
Yes, I will say, well, my sweet, watching swimmer, and the tone say a class, a pay settle. Say I hope when you put out best say I settle. A settle, Papa. Okay.
A solemn prayer from 14-year-old Ofosu Emmanuel, a pupil of Chinderi SDA Primary School in Akrache in Chumuru district of the Volta region. He leads morning prayers at school assembly, pleading with God to shut the heavens so that classes would not be disrupted. In this district, the rains have a lot to do with lessons, because about 56 schools are under trees, in mud houses with thatched roofs or under sheds. So when clouds gather, the pupils have no choice than to run home for shelter.
It's because when it rains, we can't even sit here. God knows what is good for his children. So when God allowed the rain to come, fine, but we pray to him that he shouldn't disrupt our class.
Because of the rain, we don't get time to study again, so they close us. And when it is getting to exams, you see, we didn't treat some topics. So they can set a question that we didn't treat.
On this occasion, the pupils' prayer appeared to have been answered. At a nearby school, Kwajifo DA Primary, all 6 classes are under sheds with thatched roofs. Established about 35 years ago, some of the pupils still do not have chairs. While some of the classrooms have straw walls, others are without any screens at all, leaving the pupils vulnerable to distractions by goats freely roaming the compound. Out of the blue, the clouds quickly gather. Pupils gather their books ready to run out. Remove it for me. One of them going to the rescue of the national flag hanging from the pole in the middle of the school compound. He forced it into his bag and ran home in the heavy downpour, which began at very short notice. Madam! That's how school ended that day.
Oh, boss, sit down. You should sit down.
I travel back to Chinderi SDA Primary School, where pupils earlier prayed to God to stop the rain. I find some of the pupils trapped in the classroom. This time, the thatch roof only strains the heavy downpour that confines the pupils to a section of the classroom. Ofosu Emmanuel, who prayed earlier against the rain, is disappointed.
What I feel right now is we couldn't learn at all. I can say we couldn't learn at all because I have to learn 8 subjects today, but we learned only 2 of them.
The Akrache Chumuru District Education Officer, Justice Habib, is not a happy man.
You go to some schools, frankly speaking, the structure is so bad that even you and myself would not like to put our animals under it, but you find children schooling under it. Children are eager to study.
Out of the 56 schools under deplorable conditions in the district, 8 have been marked as death traps. That's another school collapse waiting to happen. Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
This is how we wrap up Joy News Prime. And my name is Araba Kumsin from the rest of the team. Thank you very much for watching. Have a lovely weekend.
This is Joy News Prime.